Enemy aircraft incoming! Target spotted. Anti-aircraft gun on full alert. Ship is on fire! The situation is under control. Enemy aircraft incoming! Enemy aircraft incoming! Torpedoes! Good job! Enemy aircraft incoming! Enemy aircraft incoming! Ship is on fire! Enemy aircraft incoming! We're hit! Enemy aircraft incoming!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at a ship that I have been looking at, or I have been wanting to look at for a really long time. This is HMS Daring. The Daring lead ship of her class, the Daring class of destroyers, which was initially technically not even classified as destroyers. The British weren't even quite sure about what to call these things. They were the last sort of gun-focused destroyers that the British were building. Everything, I think, after that was sort of more missile-focused, if there was anything. And these were from the 1950s, so definitely a post-war design. And I have actually been on one, not on Daring herself, but on HMAS Vampire, which is a Daring-class destroyer that is sitting in the Maritime Museum in Sydney Harbour. And as such, I have actually seen that thing firsthand. Obviously not in its initial configuration, straight out of the post-war production, but after several refits still, it's quite awesome to stand on one. And you just realize how large these things are. But yeah, the Daring class has served post-war for the British and the Australian Navy, and is obviously no longer in service, but has been active for quite a while. So, why have I been excited about this ship? Well, the first thing I have to tell you is that I came into this actually after testing the what was it even called? I've already forgot the name of it. The Sevastopol, that thing. So I came into this after testing the Sevastopol, and the Sevastopol was not fun. I really didn't enjoy that ship. And it wasn't a good ship, really. And then I started testing the Daring. And the first couple of games, I noticed that, well, I didn't end up doing an awful lot of damage. I did remember that somebody mentioned that the Daring was initially nerfed, and she has been nerfed quite significantly in, I think, the next patch after her initial release. And at the same time, a lot of people really like the Daring. So I was wondering, I said, am I having fun? Even though I came out with doing 50, 60,000 points of damage, which isn't an awful lot in tier 10, especially for a destroyer. And yet I had fun. So I was wondering why that is. But we'll get to that. First of all, let's look at some of the numbers. And for that, I would like to compare the Daring to the Gearing, because they both sound similar, they're both ringing, but they are actually more similar than you might think. Now, if you've seen the smoke video, I don't know in which order I'm going to release these, so you may have not yet seen the videos on smokes. In that case, you will have seen at some point the video about smokes. You will know that the Gearing has a regular smoke, whereas the Daring gets the fuel smoke. Fuel smoke means you can bring it with you. Regular smoke means you leave it in place. The Daring also gets sonar and a defensive AA. Now that is mildly deceiving because defensive AA or not, the AA on the Daring is not going to shoot anything down. I have had a game where I was constantly under air attack by a Malta for the whole game, and I shot one plane down. So, no, this is not an AA destroyer. She does, however, get the single-fire torpedoes. And I think after, well, let's look at the rest of the statistic. But I think I know why I'm having fun and at the same time not doing a crazy amount of damage. The Daring is not particularly fast. First of all, she doesn't get an engine boost, and her base speed is actually lower than the gearing. She is reasonably well maneuverable. She actually has a really good max traverse speed. It's a very nimble ship. And she does get 613mm guns. That is a relatively low caliber. She compensates for that by having a 2.5 second base reload. And yes, I have seen these 113s on HMAS Vampire. This was one of the main nerfs, I believe, where they have significantly reduced the amount of damage that these guns were doing. But they're having the same 3% fire chance as the gearing with almost a second longer reload. They have also nerfed, I believe, the range, which you can feel, because the Daring does not have the greatest range on these 113s. She does get torpedoes, and the torpedoes on the gearing are probably better in most regards, really. They have a better flooding chance, they do noticeably more damage, and they reload quicker. The gearing has better AA. And they have the same surface detection. If I compare her to something like the Halland also, the Swedish ships tend to be Bofors demonstrator platforms. The Halland has 120mm guns, which are better in all regards than the Daring's 113s. Now, given the Halland only gets 4 of them, whereas the Daring gets 6. But the Daring has a forward biased layout, so we've got two super firing turrets at the bow. And as such can operate in really interesting ways, as we have seen on HMS Druid, which is sort of one of those. So why am I not doing an awful lot of damage? Well, the torpedoes are kind of meh. The gimmick, really, for this line is the single-fire torpedoes and the fuel smokes. Now, the fuel smokes have been nerfed. She no longer gets the fuel smoke 2, she gets the fuel smoke 1. But there's not really anything special about these ships. You're in tier 10, single-fire torpedoes getting single-fire torpedoes on target often doesn't really work. You can get some interesting firing angles, but I would describe this more as a gunboat. And as such, it's not bad, but these are 113mm guns. And yes, they're rapid firing, but they don't do an awful lot of damage, and the range is kind of such that you really got to be careful where you're sailing. So it's a good all-rounder. It's not the best destroyer out there. It's not the let's say something like a Harugumo has better low caliber guns. Something like a Gearing has better torpedoes and better smoke screens and better utility than a Daring. It's all in all, I would say, a very average ship. But at the same time, it's also not really bad at anything. And you can have a lot of fun in this thing. Just play it. If you come with it in a mindset that you're probably not going to end up doing 150,000 points of damage easily, but you're still going to have a good game and you're still going to have fun. Okay, now I'm sort of doing the conclusion before the rest of it. So let's start taking a look at what you can do with the setup. You get 2 options in the elite bonus, which are kind of interesting. You can do extend the firing range, and like I said, consider this a gunboat. So that's sort of what I would recommend. Or you can improve the torpedoes for more torpedo damage and better flooding chance. But again, keep in mind that these are percentages. So I've gone with the gun build. You do get a legendary equipment. You can get the advanced propulsion system, and we'll look at that in a minute. In terms of camouflage, obviously the historical camouflage is the only choice here. It gives us main battery firing range, which again is great. Torpedo range, which is also good because these are 9km torpedoes. She is capable of stealth firing torpedoes, but she does not do a massive amount of damage. It's more about getting these single fire torpedoes on target, and it's full risk if you're firing them in one line. Traverse and surface detection. So a very maneuverable gunboat destroyer with okay torpedoes and a little bit of utility. You only get the fuel smoke 1. You only get a def AA 1. Your AA isn't that great to begin with. So a lot of things that are more average about her. But let's look at the setup. Now I'm using the main battery mod 2 for even more Dakar. And I've got 2 games, obviously. One of them with a standard setup where I'm using the regular propulsion module for 20% acceleration and power system survivability, so you don't get your engines shot off. Whereas the advanced propulsion gives you speed and a little bit less acceleration, and you don't get the engine reliability thing. But you get 3% speed, so it's sort of a combo between the speed module for 5% at slot 3, which you probably don't want to use, as tempting as it is, because the Daring is on the slow end of things and can have a hard time disengaging, but that's what the fuel smoke's for. You sort of really do want the concealment system because she is a very stealthy destroyer, together with gearing. And as such, this is the setup with the legendary module. So that all in all gets us to a 35 knots max speed before captain skills and supplies. We've got a 12 degree per second traverse speed. There are turrets that don't traverse as quickly as this thing. The gun reloads down to 2.3 seconds, and the surface detection is down to 5.4 kilometers. I have gone with 2 commanders, one regular level 10 commander, and I've tried it with a legendary commander, Cunningham. So the second battle you're going to see with Cunningham, which means if you are seeing the little "you have been spotted" and somebody is shooting at you symbol, that's from the 6th Sense skill, which you only find on the legendary commanders here. Other than that, it's a stock standard setup. He does get the special crippling blows skill, which increases module damage by torpedoes, which is quite fun, quite interesting. And he does get an improved Mistweaver. I'm obviously not going for the Dauntless Dive, but I'm instead of going for APCS, and that is because these are on the low end of the scale for gun caliber. And especially against sturdier destroyers, the armor piercing can occasionally struggle a little, so it can be totally worth using the APCS to do more damage against destroyers. And IFAG or not, you're not going to full penetrating anything in battleshipy anyway. So with that, you could even use a armor piercing against weak spots. And obviously the improved Giant Hunter, whereas previously I've just used the standard level 10 captain for the first game. So, the Daring, like I said, I feel it's a very average destroyer. She doesn't really have anything special besides the single-fire torpedo gimmick. Something like a Minotaur has significantly more gunfire power and torpedo firepower than this thing. Hell, a Gearing has more torpedo firepower than this thing, and more utility. But it's a fun destroyer. It's not a huge damage dealer, but it can get in your face and just be sort of a little bit annoying and help the team out in many ways. Kind of like the Druid, honestly, just with torpedoes. So enough talk, let's fight. And again, 2 games. First game with regular consumables and a regular commander and the regular propulsion module. Second one with Cunningham, premium consumables, and with the legendary module for a fully decked out Daring. The first game, we are playing Domination on Crash Zone against Mecklenburg, Großer Kurfürst, Des Moines, Neptune, Gearing, and Double Shima. Yeah. Well, except for the battleships, it's going to be a fun round. So, lots of cruisers around lately. I wonder if it's probably because of the personal missions that are currently active. And I think this has been a really, really great addition, because it actually gets people to play things that they don't usually play. And I'm seeing a lot more mixed teams around with a lot more cruisers in high tiers, which is very unusual. Usually on the Asian server you don't see cruisers, you only see Shimakazes and battleships. But I am heading over into Sea Cup just to check out what the enemy team is up. Again, Sea Cup has a very nice feature on this map because it has an island in the middle. And I have sonar, which is very useful against, the island is very useful against incoming torpedoes. And I am pretty sneaky, so I should be able to outspot most of the things. The torpedoes reload reasonably quickly, so oftentimes I drop, you'll see me drop just area denial torpedoes in the beginning. One enemy destroyer in B, but there's a cruiser heading there. And it looks like I'm reasonably alone around C-Cup here. So we'll see what we can do. And there is the enemy Shimakaze. Hello, Mr. Shimakaze. Torpedoes incoming. Yeah, shoo. Get out, my cup. Unfortunately, there's also a Des Moines. So sonar up. And now we have to get in. Slammer in reverse. Shima has obviously dodged the torpedoes. Then that's fine. That's expected. And I will need to switch to the high explosive against the Des Moines, obviously. But now I'm bow in, and I've got still 2 turrets forward. I'm holding the capture circle. The Shimakaze is not in the capture circle. The Shimakaze is not running rounds around our battleships and torpedoing them from stealth. And the Des Moines is not getting into a crossfire to set fires everywhere and farm our damage on our battleships. And this, we're getting the points income. So far, I'd say I'm winning. And I think the enemy team is starting to feel the same, because Shimakaze goes, alright, I'm not having any of that. So, fuel smoke up. Des Moines has not popped his radar. But back to the armor piercing, and let's start doing the Daka against the Shimakaze. Now, he's obviously going to have torpedoes away. Yep, there they come. That's why I'm already going behind the island. And Shimakaze avoids the torpedoes, but I'm not sure Des Moines will. And I think at this point I'm reasonably alone here, and there's also another Shimakaze on the other side. So I'm deciding that this is about as I've sunk 5 torpedoes into Des Moines, and this hasn't sunk the Des Moines, but probably has done enough damage to him that he's getting a little antsy. And there are torpedoes coming from the right. That's the gearing. Oh dear. Yep, there's everyone, and Des Moines shooting at me from the rear. And I've taken 1 gearing torpedo here, but I've got an island which now shields me from any Des Moines fire, which means I can help sink that Shimakaze, which has just taken a huge amount of damage. And you can see the armor piercing doesn't always do the job, but now I've got an annoying gearing behind me, but the gearing doesn't want to push anymore. He just wants to torpedo from a distance. They are now holding C-Cup, obviously. But there are three ships down, so sonar up just in case the Shima from the right or the gearing have by now reloaded their torpedoes. I should be going undetected in a second here once my detection range goes down. So no gearing torpedoes so far. Sonar is still up for 8 seconds, and there is still the Shimakaze somewhere around C-Cup. Des Moines might have buggered off, but gearing is still somewhere around here as well. We can recover some hit points, and now I'm just gonna walk back into C-Cup and check if I can spot these guys. Yep, there's the Shima. Hello, Mr. Shimakaze. Hello there. Okay, smoke up to avoid torpedo lock on, and yes, the Shimakaze is obviously knowing that I'm dropping torpedoes. So these are not really there. They're just there to push him away. There come the Shimakaze torpedoes, so he's now out of torpedoes, and I have a tactically placed island which allows me to sail around, and now I can just go and chase after the Shimakaze. The Des Moines, I believe, is somewhere in the back now, and the gearing is over there. Neptune's probably got this. Des Moines should be relatively low by now, and I can entertain myself gunning the Shima down because he's out of torpedoes, and as long as he keeps firing his guns, he's not going undetected. So in a straight up gunfight, I've got this against Shima, so he's not getting out of that one. And I think that is, Republique takes out the Des Moines, and there's another destroyer here as well. I think we've got this sorted. So yeah, I mean, have I done a lot of damage? No. But have I had an interesting game, and have I had my fun plays, like in the onset, blocking the Shimakaze and the Des Moines and giving my team a local superiority against the rest? Yes, absolutely. And that's sort of the kind of thing that I enjoy the Daring for. Now here again, the super firing turrets in the front are really, really nice. And if I hit the Shimakaze in the belt, I'm not penetrating, but everywhere else I am, and that's the dead Shimakaze, my first kill, and I'm contented. Do I come out on the top of the team? No, because you're just not unless you're really, really focusing on it, you're gonna have a hard time doing enough damage to really you know, if you're not playing like a Shimakaze and you just don't have the speed for that, you're not going to do a massive amount of damage in this thing. But have I helped my team and had fun? Yes, absolutely. Which brings us to our second game, in which we are playing Domination on Aurora. No carrier, fortunately. Although you do have some chances of dealing with carriers just by the sheer fact that you have these frequently used fuel smokes. You're very maneuverable, and unless you're being carpet bombed or dive bombed by an American carrier into oblivion, where you just can't do anything, you can often avoid torpedoes relatively well in this thing. Anyway, Mecklenburg, Black Monty, Colbert, Ibuki, Double Shima, and Holland, and it's again a domination battle on Aurora, which means we can once again make ourselves useful, and by the looks of it, head over to A Cup. Now, I'm not going to be able to outspot the Shimas, I think, unless, but if I am running with the historical camo and the respective modules, then I would. So, still going for armor piercing with 3 destroyers, and we'll head into A Cup. What do I have with me there? What is that? Oh, it's a Jinan. So we can torpedo spam. We can torpedo spam the crap out of these people. All right. Torpedo angles, not great. You do have to give an uncomfortable amount of broadside to get the torpedoes away, but sneaky destroyer and a decent torpedo range definitely allows for the occasional stealth torp drop. And so far, destroyer in B. And debating if I want to drop torpedoes there, but nope, A is being captured as well. There's the Colbert. Hello, Mr. Colbert. You don't have to use the single fire torpedoes. You can use the widespread. So Colbert. No, that's the Holland. That's Holland radar. So we'll just get the sonar up. Yep, there come the Holland torpedoes. Seen these coming. I am now being targeted. That was the Colbert, but Colbert now has other problems. So let's smoke up. Holland's radar is on cooldown. And I wasn't the only one dropping torpedoes here, and I think these guys are just running through a massive soup of torpedoes. And the Colbert is punched against an island, and I think, yeah, he's already dead. So they've just lost the Holland and the Colbert. Yep, there goes the Holland, there goes the Colbert, and have nothing to show for, and that's already game at this point. If you're opening up like this, that's already game. So, yeah, rushing in a Colbert, rushing a cup in a Colbert can be dangerous, especially if you're not focusing on the right targets. So at this point, I can go undetected again. Although I do know that there's a Shimakaze in that smoke over there, because there's a Black Montana, and my torpedoes are reloaded, and he looks like he might be sailing in a straight line. So we'll activate the fuel smoke to go undetected and not give the Shima any idea where exactly I'm going. And then we'll get into, yep, there's Shimakaze, I've seen you. And then we'll do a full risk single file drop on the Black Montana, just assuming that he's not paying any attention. And then we'll, never mind, the Colombo already took him out. Christopher Colombo confirmed best destroyer. So now we can be a bit cheeky. If the Montana is paying any attention, he's not going to run into these torpedoes. But, well, you know, you never know. Okay, so he's slowing down. Someone's targeting me. That's probably the Black Montana. But I think he slowed down a little bit too late because, yeah, these torpedoes are 9 out of 10. Not too bad. A couple more torpedoes coming in, and suddenly that Black Montana has a permaflood and no more hit points. So, yeah, like I said, it was game the moment Holland and Colbert. It was game the moment Holland and Colbert basically ran into all our torpedoes and died. And that's a dead Black Monty. Yep, Shima takes him out. And that just leaves that very unfortunate Mecklenburg, who we haven't even gotten halfway through the game yet. And he's already run out of friends. I was like, well, how did that go so wrong? Where's everybody? I'm sorry. We're not getting a Ruffle Stomp medal because one of our destroyers got himself killed unnecessarily, but still. Okay, Mecklenburg's targeting me, so fuel smoke up. And yep, ow, that hurt. There come the Mecklenburg torpedoes, obviously. And we still have, I still have the torpedoes ready, but he is sailing away. So just in case he goes for a full turn, I'm going to drop some. But then I'm just going to use the guns from here on out. just in case. I'm just getting away. I mean, at this point, we're just farming damage. So while the whole team is busy kicking that unfortunate Mecklenburg to death, Daring, it's a fun ship. I like this ship. It's not a huge damage dealer, but I mean, unless you get super lucky with your torpedoes, you're gonna have a hard time dealing huge amounts of damage. She's a great little HE spammer with these ultra rapid firing guns. You've got some get out of jail cards to compensate for the lack of speed with your fuel smokes that you can frequently activate, and you have got the forward oriented gun turrets with she's better at setting fires than a gearing, and as such, I would say, I mean, gearing is not like a super strong destroyer anymore these days, but has been power crept quite a bit. The Daring doesn't really have anything super special about herself, but she's also not having anything really negative or like any really glaring weakness. All in all, it's a really well-rounded ship, and not the strongest ship out there, but definitely an enjoyable ship. And if you like an aggressive play style, and you've got good awareness, and you're not looking for a stealth torpedo destroyer, which you can play, but again, there are ships that can do this significantly better, then it's not a bad ship to have. So yeah, definitely enjoying her, and if you happen to have a legendary captain around that has the Sixth Sense skill, then that's not a bad choice either, because knowing if you're being shot at can help, especially if you've seen what something like a Christopher Colombo can do to destroyers. But anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.